Guys, how's it going? And as per usual, in the world of fun things that are interesting and fun to know. As you guys have probably seen with this build, okay, I had like some bits and pieces of skill crit from my previous, build that was basically my Holy Guide build. And so I've been slowly but surely converting that over into combo and crit rate. And so here we are now at 40% crit rate, 65% combo, 45% evasion, and then we're basically buffing our combo multiplier, our basic attack multiplier, and then we're working on the crit damage as well to kind of maximize our possible outcomes, regardless of what, ends up rocking one way or the other, right? Now, I will say that, in order to like really buff these in any amount, you really got to pay attention to a couple of things. Namely, you've got to be going in and doing your souls. And of course, if you aren't already doing that, there's obviously like certain stats you can improve, like combo damage, for example. There's also counter damage. If you're going a counter build, attack bonus is just good overall. But then, of course, you have crit damage. And so that's like the next phase of where I'm at in this, is that I'll eventually get red souls for those pieces. But I'm saving up, even though it is currently, I believe it's Soul Rush right now. So let me kind of show you here. So during Soul Rush, you can get rewards. So we're going to go ahead and proc a bunch of these. Now I've been kind of saving. I haven't gotten a whole lot, but I've got enough to start us off. So we got about 70, which I doubt I'm going to get any reds, but you never know. No space left in soul inventory. Oh, I have too many souls. Salvage. Problem solved. Okay, rinse repeat. Yeah, so I got a couple more. Maybe we'll get like it was our the one spin, maybe. Nah. Okay, so go ahead and salvage the rest of these. And so pretty much that's that. Now, of course, with the 9,000 essence, we'll go ahead and buff as much as we can that side of it. So that way we'll have some crit damage bonus there. And then, of course, during Soul Rush, we'll go ahead and grab all of the wonderful loot. Looks like we do need some more Soul Essence to continue onward, but that's to be expected. Of course, Pal Rush is going on, so we've got that as well. But one of the things that I've been kind of poking around with in this build that I've been working on is I found it kind of interesting that there are a couple of stats and attributes that people are probably aware of, but if you didn't know, tap on the eye up here, okay? This tells you what each attribute does, okay? Literally, I don't know why nobody has ever bothered to just tap on the eye and attribute details, but it's huge. Right, because here it'll tell you the rate to trigger healing with basic attacks is your healing rate, and healing amount is the amount healed as a percentage of maximum HP when triggered. Now you might remember regen being a thing, and that regen, believe it or not, is actually percentile HP regeneration per second. So it has nothing to do with like your active skill cooldown or anything like that. But one thing that I thought was kind of worthy of like some attention here is that I have a healing rate of 8%, and every 8% I'm getting 0.31% of that back in terms of health. Now, obviously, you'd have to scale up the improvement side of this as much as you can, right? I mean, you're only going to be able to do so much, but that's kind of the idea. Is you'll basically work on improving that, and you're gonna gradually get better and better stuff. But I don't know, it's kind of like one of those things where like in the talent tree, if you go down the back accessory route, you can get your healing rate from here. You could also potentially grab it from I believe it's one of these. Hold on, I forget which one it was. I believe it might be this healing amount there, yeah. The healing rate itself, my memory, I think is only in that. Oh, here it is. So the healing rate is on the left-hand side. Is the only other path that has the healing rate, at least in the archery tree. The only difference between eager momentum and really the Gale Barrage is just whether or not do you want to increase your combo damage or do you want to increase crit damage. You know, which this goes up to 50% on combo damage, where this only goes up to 25%, you know, in terms of crit damage, which I think it's kind of a clear winner in my opinion, but, you know, it's worth mentioning. That said, I don't know, I mean, as far as every other thing goes, I mean, I've been working on basically improving crit rate. I don't really have any use for the Metamorphics Crystal right now, since basically what I'm doing for pals is I'm doing this combination. Mainly because I can get Hipster Tortoise for the extra 30% HP for a shield. And then there's also the Bunny, which gives you a 5% crit rate, plus it also gives you launches. Now, yes, you could conceivably spend the $50 and get yourself Toothpick Eggplant if you wanted to increase your, you know, overarching amount of DPS that you do in terms of, you know, as far as crits are concerned, right? You can get 10% versus 5. But one of the things that I'm really looking forward to getting is going to be Pirate Octopus, because you're going to gain a 60% combo damage increase, plus every 3 combos you do 200% damage, which is, in my opinion, a pretty big bonus. But, you know, from that perspective, right, if we look back on, like, the Pepe that you get during the event from Pepe way back, you'll notice that also gives you a 0.1% healing rate. And I don't know, I'm sure now looking at it now is like, not as many people are probably going to have it. Of course, if you haven't already picked up on this little cheat, I thought this one was kind of interesting. So basically, all you got to do is whenever you're up against a bunch of bots, or you're fighting effectively a lot of mobs, and you find yourself in a situation where you are running out of health for any reason, right? This is one of those things that, you know, it's pretty much working as intended, as they say. But it's kind of like one of those, but is it really, type questions. And so what you'll notice here is that as we're going through and knocking out all of these, when we hit the boss like this, let's say, for example, I just want to refresh my skills. I can go down to Parking Wars and then hit back and close back. You'll notice it restarts. But then so do all of your skills, cooldown, refresh, all of that jazz, right? Which is kind of interesting, given that, you know, you can basically refresh your skills. Of course, now it's like, ah, yes, this worked, and then it's like, why did it suddenly quit working? And it's like, well, it's working as intended. You know, that is to say that if you go out of your way to try and reset this, you're going to find yourself in a situation where, you know, hey, hold up, this didn't reset. Okay, back and forth, you know. And you can kind of back and forth it, you know, with Parking Wars, right? You could also go back and forth, and I don't know, I mean, it seems to me as though, like, Parking Wars is a popular choice that people are choosing, but frankly, I even seen somebody that had found out that, you know, as long as you can get this to refresh, then it's not important how you do it, right? But if you can get it to refresh, that is to say, like, you could go and, you know, pop in, like, I don't know, for example, if I go straight to Soul Rush, for example, maybe I pull up a character, hit practice, and then, you know, simultaneously, if I bounce back out and I practice, you know, there's like more than one way people have been achieving this, but the idea is exactly the same. You're refreshing your skill cooldowns and basically causing your character to survive. Like, I think another way you could probably potentially do this is, okay, so like, for example, right now, I'm not going to die very easily because I'm just mollywopping right now, I guess. Like, I'm trying to show you an example of this where I'm not getting completely shreked by anything, but no, like, I clearly, you know, I'm kind of struggling here. Hold on. Okay, so here we go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and refresh. I'm just gonna hit challenge. I'm gonna pick a random one. I may have hit that guy more than once today. I'm sorry. You know, it doesn't really matter though in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so like that, I'll back out. And then you'll notice that even though I did that, it didn't, you know, it refreshed the health, it refreshed your cooldowns and everything, but it kept their health the same. And I don't know, I just, and like in principle, it's exactly the same every time. Like you can basically kind of cheapen your way through a lot of your events. And you can do it, I think, also with cross server, I think, as well. Like, you just need a challenge or something like that. Something to bring you out of this current arena event part. And then you can just kind of cheese it to basically get higher and higher up the ranks. Now, you know, is it an exploit, a hack? I mean, yeah, kind of. It's kind of a cheap hack, to be honest. People are using it, though, to get a hold of, like, getting into Infinity and such, and they're, like, super low level, you know? It's like this is kind of what they're using to get ahead. You know, do you really need to do it? No, not really. Like, it's probably unnecessary. As for guess where I am, if you're wondering about any of the clues, basically 5 is literally right where you go to grab pals. It'll be at the top left. It's so hot here is actually where, for clue number 4 anyway, that's going to be in the magma chamber, aka when you're going to Blazing Cave. That's where it's located. It'll be in the bottom left corner. For clue 3, you're going to need to go to the I think that's like in the actual guild hall. Like, you go to the manor from there, and then 2 is arena, and then 1 is where you get the pals when you view them. Like, that's pretty much all you need to know as far as the clues are concerned. But yeah, outside of that, that's really about all that I can say. Really, I've been tweaking. I mean, yeah, the guy from the last video was like, yeah, you should be using cryo control, crit rate. You could be doing all these things and you're not doing it. It's like, okay, I'll try it. So like here, you can see my crit damage now. Instead of being that measly 500%, now it's 842. Yeah, and it's just from one little tweak in the soul. You know, like, that's where you're gonna get a good chunk of it. Now, I don't know, as far as like this is concerned, I'm focusing on combo, and if I can get crit rate, great, but as you can tell, I still have a couple of pieces of gear in here that are not doing me any good. Like, it's giving me evasion and skill crit, both of which I'm not even using in this build. So it's like slowly but surely having to phase those out and swap them out for better pieces. But that's, I think, is a little bit more manageable once you have an aura set than it is to try and do this when you only have a supreme set. Plus, your power ranking is going to be substantially lower anyway, so it's just kind of a pain. But yeah, I don't know. As far as the enchants go, I finally got a pair of pink Furious Gale enchants. I'm slowly but surely working on getting basically the remainder of the Furious Gales up to red or pink. If I can get them up there, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm tweaking. As far as the event is concerned, about the only thing I've been kind of focusing in on is trying to grab this Awakening Crystal. And I'll get it either way. I'm either going to get it from the event itself, or I'm going to acquire it going through the actual, I can kind of show you, right? If you were wondering, like, how do I get Adaptive Slime? You get it from fricking Rush Shop, by the way. Same thing for Cloud Drifter, Hot Wheels, and Pyre Breaker, which, not gonna lie, man, 30 is pretty pricey. Is it worth it? I don't know, man. Like, it's cool, but is it worth it? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd rather have Cloud Drifter if it were me, if I was doing a Holy Guide build or a Dark Lord build, but, you know, I don't know. It's each their own, I guess. You know, it's expensive, it's pricier, and therefore it's cooler. You know, like, it just pick your poisons, however you please. I guess the only other thing that you should guys probably know, and this is something that I thought was kind of worth mentioning, is, you know, I had mentioned it before, but you always want to save your lucky spinner coins, because you can reuse those every time the next event comes along. Of course, for Dark Trials and such, you know, getting the Trial Pass, I think, is a pretty good boon to your advantage. Because I think a lot of builds are going to be morphed into whatever they can do in the back accessory talents. And there's some pretty interesting talents in here. I mean, I've seen, like, some different plays on this that are pretty interesting. Like, you can acquire some pretty interesting stat bonuses. So if you haven't taken the time to look at this, you really should. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, really, I would say the only other thing that I've been working on is basically on my set here. I'm trying to basically get a full set of combo. And then I'm trying to level that set of combo up to triple S. But as you might imagine, that is not an easy feat. Okay, like I have triple S global attack and some bits and pieces of skill damage, but I am nowhere near getting a triple set of combo yet. But that's where you get a large chunk of your DPS on an archer build, for that matter. But, you know, it's each their own, I guess. It's just one of those things to know. That said, thank you guys for watching the video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys to the next one.